Hi everyone, it's me, Beatty Kelly Sunflower. So I thought I'd hop on today and do my tarot reflections for my Nine of Swords month. So before I go into my journal and talk about what I've done, the decks that I received, used, and also the books that I've received as well, I thought I'd talk about my dolls because these are the biggest items. So this doll here is called Ciara. She's quite a big doll, quite a cuddly doll. She's got like a soft body. I'm quite modern because I normally like my vintage dolls, but because she's quite cuddly, this was my bed doll. And also because she's wearing the colour purple, I find purple quite a soothing colour. This is her friend called the Sindy blogger. They hang out together, and I also played with this doll for the month, but I'll go into it for in my journal. So the dolls I played with for my Nine of Swords month were Ciara or Ciara and my fashion blog doll, which is here. So I thought these dolls would be perfect for a Nine of Swords month because I associate them both with the colour purple. Purple is about calm and stability for me because it's a blend of blue and red, which I find very uplifting. Purple as well is also used in colour therapy to soothe overactive nerves and encourage relaxation and promote a sense of inner peace. And I guess that because the Nine of Swords is kind of like an anxiety month, I thought this doll would be nice to play with. So the Ciara doll, which I just showed you, she's got a soft body, she's quite cuddly, she's a bed doll. And when I bought her, the information said that she was a born leader and an entrepreneur and huggable. So I thought that would be quite good for my Nine of Swords month. And then the Sindy blogger, they've always hung out together, wears purple, same sort of hair. And I have great pleasure playing with this Sindy blogger doll because she came with extra stuff in her box. So these dolls brought me great comfort for the month of April. So before I go into the decks and stuff like that, let's have a look at my month of April. December last year, when I done my 12 card spread for this year, 2026, I used a deck called the Vision Tarot, and this is the Nine of Swords in that deck. It's called the Nine of Psyche, though, or Psyche 9. So my interpretation for the Nine of Swords is stop it. You either go to therapy or embrace your anxieties. Wailing all night, overthinking and having panic attacks is not the way to face your fears and heal from them. And in the actual deck that I used in the guidebook, it says this is an element here of using all you have to try and fight some sort of negativity, possibly bad dreams. You know something is wrong, but you are on the verge of regaining your freedom and mastering your thoughts. I think it's Angela Taub, that's her interpretation of the Nine of Psyche or Nine of Swords. So for a yes-no question, I thought that Nine of Swords is a maybe. This is because the Nine of Swords represents anxiety, fears and negative thoughts that may be clouding the situation and making it difficult for a positive outcome to emerge, making the outcome unclear and open to interpretation. But I would also say as well that look at the other cards around it. But if it's just a one card pull, I would say it's a maybe. And then for my card of the month, to me, the Nine of Swords is advising me to address and release any lingering fears and anxieties that are holding me back from reaching my goals, spiritual growth and inner peace. So that was my goal for my Nine of Swords month. So as you know, I also like to use Lenormand. So Lenormand cards, which I feel have Nine of Swords energy. I've got 4 cards. The first one is the Clouds, which is card 6. Because they represent confusion, uncertainty, anxiety and mental fog. That captures staying up all night worrying, which is also an interpretation of the Nine of Swords. So there's also the Snake, which is card 7, and that can indicate complex mental torment, betrayal, either real or imagined, or a situation causing deep anxiety. The third card is the Scythe, which is card 10, and that often indicates a sudden shock, danger, or a stressful, sharp mental break, similar to the sudden fear in the Nine of Swords. And then the final card is the mice, because that's all about stress, anxiety, worrying about things, you know, letting things eat away at you. And I think that closely mirrors the aspects of the Nine of Swords. So the crystal that I used a lot this month, which I associate with the Nine of Swords, is this one here. This is the rose quartz. And I feel that it's good for a Nine of Swords month because it helps with self-love, self-acceptance and inner peace. The planet representing the Nine of Swords is Mars, because it represents energy, action and sometimes aggression or anguish. So the zodiac sign, that's Gemini. Gemini is associated with thoughts, anxiety and communication. So my reflections for the Nine of Swords month. My aim for my Nine of Swords month was to address and release any lingering fears or anxieties that were holding me back from happiness and reaching my goal. So there was 3 points here. So as I've said here, that although I was able to achieve a few goals, I was unable to release and address all my lingering fears and anxieties. So I had 3 kind of fears this month. The first one was like an online market. Do you like selling things online? This is something I wanted to do for quite a while. So I've said online marketplace app. One fear that I was able to address and release for my Nine of Swords month was selling decks that I could not connect with on an online market app. So I feel that my fears were based on the emotional attachment I have with my decks, even when I'm not bonding with them. So I had to mentally remind myself that I was not bonded to the decks, and that made it easier for me to part with them, because I always have issues kind of like selling my decks. I've got loads of decks that I'm just not connecting with, and they're just sitting on my shelves collecting dust. So hopefully now that I've done it for the first time, you know, the buyers bought it, it's given me that confidence to do it again. So the second goal that I had for my month was tarot tube videos. So I actually recorded 2 unboxings and 1 hashtag, but I have been unable to upload them due to the fear that they are not good enough. I tried to acknowledge these feelings by asking myself, why am I putting myself down? But unfortunately, I was unsuccessful with releasing this anxiety and finding a solution to improve the situation. So those videos are not going to be released. Okay, so the final fear that I had for the month of April was the fear of not waking up after my upcoming minor surgery. So I'm going to have a very minor operation next month, which is the month of May, and I've been plagued with nightmares around not waking up. And my anxieties about being put to sleep stem from me having a massive asthma attack 2 years ago. And that was during another surgery, which was my lung surgery. I had lung cancer 2 years ago. And apparently I died for a few seconds on the operating table before being brought back by the anaesthetist. So unfortunately, this has not been recorded in my medical records. And it is now being assumed by the medical professionals that are dealing with my current or my upcoming operation that it did not take place. So although I have taken steps to understand the root cause of my anxiety around my upcoming surgery and have made attempts to get the oversight corrected, I'm still having nightmares about it. So I guess for this goal, I've kind of addressed it by putting in a complaint and getting the department that's dealing with my upcoming surgery to kind of find those records and add it, and for the anaesthetist to also be aware on the day. But it's still not taken away my anxiety. I'm still had this massive fear that I'm not going to wake up. So with the exception of point 2, which was the tarot videos, which I'm not going to release, I've tried my best in my Nine of Swords month to address and release some of my lingering fears and anxieties. So I have tried, but I wasn't fully successful in doing it. Let's talk about the decks that I used in my Nine of Swords month. I used 3 decks. I used the Listening Oracle deck, Many Queens Tarot, and Lenormand Quick Answers. So the first 2 are mass market, and the Lenormand deck is an indie deck. So let's get those decks out. So let's have a look at the Lenormand deck first. This was a deck that I picked up on Kickstarter, I think a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It came with this bag, which mirrors the back of the deck. It came in a box, and I think there was a QR code to get the guidebook, but because this deck has got writing at the bottom, I didn't see the need to get the guidebook. As you can see, the back of the cards do match the bag. So when I first started using this deck, I found it a bit of a challenge because the actual messages were kind of like not all in a line to my interpretation of the cards. So what I done, for this month only, I just kind of blocked my own meanings and just used the ones on here. I really like this deck. So in each card, so for example, the bouquet, it gives you the timings, which is spring. If you want a yes, no answer, it is yes. It gives you like some keywords. So the bouquet is satisfaction, success, good surroundings. I mean, I would have also added beauty because I think it's also to do with beauty and even vanity at times. And then the personality is polite, courageous person with very romantic, and it gives you the playing card association there. So that's how I was using this deck. So I used it on myself. I found it very predictive, but when I was trying to use it as a Lenormand deck, with my own interpretations, I found it very difficult to use because the actual keywords were throwing me off. I also wanted to use it with my other 2 decks because sometimes if I'm doing like a tarot reading and an oracle reading together, I like to use the Lenormand to give an extra layer to the reading. But again, the keywords were very kind of like distracting, so I used it in its own right just for reading for me, and I ignored my own meanings and went with the meanings on the cards, and I found that way this deck was very pleasant to use. So I had to make a few adaptations to use it. So the next 2 decks, which are mass market by the same creator, the Listening Oracle deck and the Many Queens deck, my plan was to work with them together and use the Oracle deck as a clarifying deck, but again, that didn't go to plan. One of my videos that I done, that I couldn't actually upload because I didn't think it was good enough, it was the unboxing of this deck. So I do have a lot of decks in my collection that are in cellophane, and I'm trying to get through. I might actually do a separate video on that, but because I wanted to actually use this deck, I actually done an unboxing, and as I said before, I haven't been able to upload it. This deck comes with a guidebook, and what I like about this deck, it's a circular deck, and the guidebook gives you the meanings in different ways. So if it comes out upright, it's got one meaning. If it is reversed, it's got another meaning. If it's slightly leaning to the left, it's got one meaning, and if it's slightly leaning to the right, it's got another meaning, and I like that. So for me, this deck is more of a one card pull rather than a clarifying deck. I was intending to use them with the tarot deck, to work with them together, but I was just shuffling it, pulling the card for the day and reflecting on the message. So let's pull a card for today so I can give an example. Right, so that one. Okay, and I'd say that it's more facing to the left. So let's see what the guidebook says. The guidebook says loveliness, and it gives you a blurb of what that means, which I'm going to read out to you. The act of creation can feel like a lonely path. We are sometimes driven to create from need for connection. We have started our creative practice in childhood when connecting to others felt challenging. We may have picked up art during long periods of spent alone. Loneliness is different from being alone. Although we might crave periods of isolation to practice our crafts, that doesn't usually fill us with despair. Loneliness arises when we feel misunderstood or like we can't connect with others. This might be the result of making art and not sharing. Perhaps you have carved out a place for your mental health and it is something to keep yourself. This card is nudging you to share your creative. So because the card is kind of facing that way, the guidebook under that position, I think it's more facing to the left. It says here, you might be feeling misunderstood. It can make us angry when we don't feel listened to or acknowledged. Many of us begin life being dismissed or having our feelings minimized as a child. What are the ways you can listen to yourself? Can you honor your anger as a feeling that might be telling you something important? Now, this is very interesting because I've just pulled this card in front of you. And this morning, I actually rang up my local council about something. And the person that I was on the phone to was just not processing what I was telling her. And I must admit, I kind of snapped at her. So this kind of message is quite, relatable for me today. But anyway, with regards to my month of Nine of Swords, I did use this deck every day. So every day I pulled out the card, I read the message, I reflected on it. And I like the fact that this deck gives you 4 interpretations. So if it falls this way, it gives you one reason. If it come out reverse, it gives you another meaning, and so on and so forth. So this was a really nice deck, and even though I intended to use it as part of my readings with my tarot deck, it didn't work that way. This deck for me is a more of a 1-card daily pull deck. So I think in the future, this is how I'm going to use this deck, for a card a day, not to kind of like give me an extra layer of readings to my tarot cards, because not all oracle decks are clarifying decks, and this one is not one. It's more of a card of a day deck. My tarot deck that I used for the month is the Many Queens Tarot. I really love this deck, and even though it's created by the same author as the Listening Oracle, the artwork is quite different. This deck here, to me, I think it's a black and white melanated deck, because a lot of the archetypes have got kind of like big lips, kind of like African kind of facial features. That's just my interpretation. I love the backs of the cards. This deck is very, very quirky as well. It also reminds me kind of a black and white version of the Dream Way Tarot deck. That kind of quirkiness. There's a little bit of nudity in this deck, but not so much. I like that how some of the characters are androgynous. So this Emperor is a man with a beard and breasts. I quite like that, and like nice long kind of feminine nails. I just enjoyed this deck. And it's also, to me, very predictive. It's also intuitive for me, because, another person might pick up this deck and think, oh, I can't relate to it. But for me, it was a very relatable deck. I gave about 3 or 4 readings this month using this deck. Some for friends, some for myself. And it was eerily accurate. So my goal for the month was to use all 3 decks together, to add layers of readings, but I wasn't able to do that. I did use a Lenormand deck to clarify some of my readings, but I had to do that separately and not together. So normally if I was to do like a tarot reading, let's say now that these cards are out, and I wanted to clarify the readings, let's put the camera. So let's say now that this is my reading, like my 3-card reading, and I wanted to clarify the reading with a Lenormand deck, I would normally put my Lenormand cards on top of this reading just to give it a layer of clarification or a layer of clarity. So I might use 3 cards like this. But because of the writing on the Lenormand cards, it was really off-putting. So instead of layering it, once I'd done my reading, I had to put the Lenormand cards in separately like that. So I guess I kind of use them as clarifying cards, but not in the way that I would normally clarify my readings. So normally, if I was going to clarify my readings, I would use my tarot decks. This is I will put my Lenormand cards on top, and then maybe I'd put a couple of oracle cards above it like that. So this would be my, let me just put maybe 3 so that they're all kind of together. So maybe I'd put 3 oracle cards on top, and then that would be my reading, like a layered reading. But because the oracle deck, in my opinion, was a card of a day deck, it wasn't really good for clarifying, and the Lenormand deck was too busy with keywords and timings. I wasn't actually able to read my cards this month the way that I wanted to read them. However, I did use them, but I used them separately. Okay, so let's have a talk about the books that I received for the month. The first book that I received was called The Beginner's Guide to Strength Training for Women Over 50, and it's published by Lifelong Press. It was $13.94. I can't actually find that book. I was looking for it, and I've misplaced it. The second book that I received was a pre-order book. It was called The Herb Dispensary by Deb Robinson, and that was received on the 9th of April, and it was £11.29. The third book was called The Spiritual Magic of Dolls by Najan Lightfoot, and that was £12.95. The fourth book was a used book that I got. It was Laura Ashley. I think it's her biography, because it's written by Anne Saba, and it's about a life by design. I love Laura Ashley's designs. That's why I wanted to read about her. The fifth book that I bought was called Witchcraft in Our African Way by Leo, and it was $10.95. The final book that I received in the month of April was a book called Collecting Classic Girl Toys by Susan Brewer, and that one was £7.74, and that's for a hardback, which I thought was really cheap. So let's show you those books. So this is the Laura Ashley book that I bought used from Amazon. I don't know if I told her the price of that one, but just in case I didn't, the price was £3.42, and that included delivery. I love books that have got like the dust jacket on there. It's quite warm, but it's also in very good condition. Let me read you a bit about her from the sleeve of the book. Laura Ashley, the name that has become an international byword for the classic English countryside woman living in domestic bliss. But what was Laura Ashley, the woman, really like behind the facade of the family-based company that not only used her name but was moulded on her personal image? Anne Saba, that's the creator, has been given access to Laura Ashley's company papers and has talked to many of the Ashley family. Her book is the first biography of this remarkable woman who became one of the leading influences on the British design and marketing this century. Laura and Bernard Ashley started printing textiles in 1953. They used a domestic oven and a kitchen table. Their drive and ambition were astonishing. Their venture was a result in fashion and home decoration business that is now renowned internationally. It led to fame and glamour, a chateau in France, a private plane, and other attributes of fabulous wealth. It also developed into a fascinating business partnership between man and wife. Anne Saba describes Laura, the asset business woman, with her sure instinct for forecasting trends, her canny feel for colour and fabrics, and her often brilliant but perfect simple ideas. She describes Laura, the wife and mother, her relationship with Bernard, her sadness at leaving Wales and her family for life on the continent, her conviction that her place was with her husband. She describes her whims, her phobias, her habits. Laura had a promiscuous streak which brought a missionary zeal to her work. It was more than just preference for prim, high neckness and long, all-concealing skirts. It was a belief that her company had a greater purpose than just making money. She always fought on principle to retain her ties with the rural community in Wales, fearing that mass production would destroy the ethnic and cottage industry on which the business was based. Above all, Laura wanted to create a kind of Scrubs simple beauty. It's continued on the back flap, but I won't read it. But this is a picture of Laura Ashley. So I do have quite a few of her bags, and I also have some of her kitchen accessories. So I thought that I'd like to read about her because her design is something that I really like. So this book here, which is called The Collection of Classic Girls' Toys by Susan Brewer and forwarded by Angela Ripton. I love Susan Brewer as a person that plays with dolls and collects dolls. She's written quite a few books. She's written books on Teeny Tears and Tiny Tears. These were British dolls that were around in the 70s. She's written quite a few dolls books anyway. I've got quite a few of her books. She also wrote a book about 1970 playground games like hopscotch. I've got that book as well. So I actually quite like Susan Brewer. I'm not sure if she's alive, but she takes me back to my childhood. So on the front cover, that's the Sindy doll, one of the first Sindy dolls. Amanda Jane, the other dolls book that she wrote about, which I've got. Susan Brewer, the author of British Dolls of the 1950s and the follow-up British Dolls of 1960s, here turns to the world of girls' toys. In Victorian times, unless she came from a really wealthy family, a girl might possess a china doll or two, a spinning top, a hoop, or a few other small toys. If her parents were rich, then maybe she would have a rocking horse and a doll's pram, where if the child's family were poor, she would have to be lucky if she owned a small wooden doll. To a contrast to today's young girls who accumulate so many toys that many of them are scarcely played with. In 1970s and 80s saw an influx of character toys that often had their own invented world, complete with accessories, pets and friends, strawberry shortcake, Rainbow Brights. I remember the doll Rainbow Brights. Care Bears, I remember them as well. Flower Fairies, Moon Dreamers, and Lady Lockstocks are just a few. There were also dolls such as Holly Hobby, Sarah Kay, and enchanting Victoria Plum, who accompanied the stories written by Angela Ripton. Angela has written the foreword of this book. Susan devotes each chapter to a different subject, so caring and cooking, houses and homes, traditional toys, cuddles and characters, etc., etc. So let's have a look at the book. It originally goes for £30, but I don't know if it's going out of print, but I got it for £7.74, as mentioned earlier. It's got a really nice content page. This book was published in 2010, so maybe it's going out of print for it to be so cheap. So dolls come in all sorts and sizes, caring and cooking, houses and homes, cuddles and character dolls, etc., etc. Further reading, index. But just look at this. It just brings me back to my childhood. And people used to have those sort of like glass kind of designs on their cupboards. And this is Angela Ripton, who was also involved in this book. Look at that. Beautiful doll's pram. I guess this is in the 1950s. I wasn't born then. It's a girl. It has to be pink and all this sort of stuff. I remember playing in tents as a child. Wooden dolls. I've got some African wooden dolls, but these ones here are kind of modern dolls. So this is the Cabbage Patch doll. This is the Barbie and Bratz, which my daughter had. Oh God, I love reading these books. Caring and Cooking. I remember the Mother Care Carry Cot. I remember that, playing with that as a child. And Palitoy Teeny Tears. As I said, the author has written a whole book about Teeny Tears. I've got it some on my bookshelf. And I remember these prams as a child. I remember these sort of prams, silver cross prams. Oh, this book's taking me down memory lane. I remember having a pram similar to this, and a double one as well, like a twin pram. This is quite modern because my grandkids have got this Henry Hoover toy, or Hetty. So this, I'm going to enjoy reading this book. This is the 1980 Sindy doll house. I remember this house here, the tree house. So as I said, I'm looking forward to working with this book or reading this book. It will take me down memory lane, and that's the reason why I bought it. But I think it's worth the £7.74 that I paid. Beautiful. This is another doll book that I bought. Spiritual Magic of Dolls by Naja Lightfoot, forwarded by Duca Eels. I hope I pronounced that right. Let me try and see if I can read something that's not too long. Dolls have been both beloved companions and instruments of magic for millennia. In The Spiritual Magic of Dolls, author Naja Lightfoot bridges these two uses, companionship and magic, to enable readers to develop profound magical and spiritual relationships with their own dolls. Many have beloved dolls displayed on shelves or sitting in boxes. What if you want to do more with them? Naja shows you how. Perhaps you can have favourite childhood dolls, or have been gifted a doll with a doll, or inherited one from a relative or a friend. Many people are extremely attached to one or more dolls. This book teaches you how to make their attachment to take their attachment to the next level. Naja writes, the book is written for the magical practitioner, or for the person who has a love of dolls and who would like to learn how to bring them comfortably loving into a wonderful and familial relationship. The Spiritual Magic of Dolls seeks to connect readers to love their dolls, especially the dolls that may have had a hard life before they ended up coming into the lives of the readers. It is written for those who find themselves drawn to dolls and wish to be closer to them in magical, loving ways. And then this is the author. She said that this is her personal doll, one on the cover. There's also like a YouTube video where she talks about this book, which I will try and leave in the description bar if I can find it. Naja Lightfoot is a prolific and award-winning author. Her work is included in numerous publications, including Tashin's Witchcraft, the Library of Historica, Volume 3, and in-demand speaker and presenter for conferences, events, and workshops. Naja lives in Denver, Colorado, where the blue skies and the power of Rocky Museum uplift and fill her soul. She can be found online, and it gives you her webpage. And this book's published by Rise Book, and she said this is one of her childhood dolls. Is there an index in this book? Because I don't think there is an index. Look, this doll looks quite spooky, doesn't it? So this is a book that I'm looking forward to reading, and I might even start reading it next month. So the next book that I received is the Herb Dictionary, which is A to Z of Herbs and Magical Healing by Deb Robinson. Deb Robinson and her daughter do the monthly Witchcraft skip boxes, so that's why I was drawn to this book. It says at the back of the book, discover the power of herbs and transform your life. Step into the enchanting world of plant magic. The Herb Dictionary, a practical A to Z guide for the modern witch, whether you wish to attract abundance, banish negativity, or invite love. The right herbs and plants are waiting with these pages. So it's got a nice content page. So abundance, acceptance, addiction, anger, anti-aging. Let me see that one, page 24. Anti-aging. I don't think that exists. I think you just have to age gracefully. But let's see what the spell is about. So the following can help hold back the aging signs for both body and spirit. It's got the things that you need, like acorns, apricot, etc., etc. And then half a cup of avocado oil, apricot oil, jasmine essential oil, rose essential oil, 5 drops of verbena essential oil. Blend together counterclockwise with intent to prevent aging. Apply to skin after bathing and showering. I'm going to try this and see if what it does to my skin, but let's just see. But this is how the book's kind of done. So it just gives you different herbs or spells, you know, to use. And I like that it's in alphabetical order. There's one for letting go, positivity, romance. So I'm looking forward to working with this book. I think she's done about 3 other books, which I do have. I have all the books that she's done, but this one is something that I'm looking forward to working with. This is a Witchcraft in Our African Way of Life by Leo. So Leo was born in Nigeria and migrated to Belgium in 1995. He wrote his first book in 2004 titled Nation Insane, The Plight of an African Child. His diploma in environment policy open. Fictions of life are the facts of our surroundings. Those who are spiritually empowered causelessly use such powers to either intimidate the powerless or use it to bring evil spells upon the innocents. To overcome these, one must learn to believe in oneself and have faith in God. The power behind gods and mystics are that of the human. I do find witchcraft open to interpretation. I do like African witchcraft. That's what I would have called witchcraft, but then I also like other forms of witchcraft too. Most of this book is based on true stories of witchcraft and fetish practices in Africa. Witchcraft is a mystical power that is used to intimidate and hurt innocent victims in the past. Many lives have been wasted in the name of appeasing gods over every unfortunate event that's happening in communities. Women and children were the most frequent victims of this mystical power that was usually orchestrated by men. So I wonder if he's talking about Nigeria or Africa as the continent. It's written really nice big font. I'm going to read this book. I think it's generally based in Nigeria, I think, rather than Africa. But it'd be nice to read it and have a different perspective on witchcraft. That's why I bought it. So that's my witchcraft book. And then I bought these 2 books for next year. So for my next year journal, I'm going to use these A4 books. Or sorry, not A4, these are A5 I will say. But I like the print. This is like Ankara, like Nigerian Ankara print. It's got a nice buttery kind of like feel. And I think they're about £5.50 on Amazon. So these are going to be my journals for next year. I might even buy a couple more if they're still around. So decks. I received 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decks. 4 of them are ones that I bought and 2 of them are pre-orders. So the first one was called Tarot Colonina de las Américas by Patrick Monzens. It was $22.69. It was a mass market deck. I received that on the 1st of April. There's the Fortunate Frogs tarot deck. I think I've done a flip through of that one by Devon Short, and that was $20.90. And I received it on the 3rd of April. The Cyril Oracle deck, that was a Etsy deck. That was 16. It was actually £16. I think it was a flash sale, but I think now it's about £30. It's only a few cards, but I bought it to match with another mass market deck that I've got, which I will show you. And then I got the Accurate as Fuck tarot deck by Prism and Fleur. That was £31.40. That was bought from Amazon US via Amazon.uk. So the pre-orders that I received are This Might Help, Oracle by Isabel Rothman. That was £17.73. And the Tarot of Oz by Claire Ruby and Emma Howard, and that was £21.62, and I received that on the 23rd of April. So let's show you my decks. So this is the Etsy deck that I received. Let's bring it down so you can see. It's called the Galactic Guidance. Dive deep into the vastness of your inner universe with these 27 surreal oracle cards. Each carefully created image beckons you to explore the constellations of your thoughts, desires, and dreams. Accompanied by a guided manual and reflection prompts, these cards act as a luminous guide, casting light upon your path to intuitive wisdom. Embrace the cosmic dance of your self-discovery and trust the innate power of your intuition. So it comes with a guidebook. Numerology of 27. I guess because there's 27 cards, so she explains why she's chosen 27 cards. Which is interesting. And then you can use a single card draw, and she tells you how to draw the card, to reflect, to journal, to meditate, and to revisit. She's got a spread called the Triad Spread. And then for each card, so for example, the first one, the Cosmic Clock, it gives you a blurb about it and then the reflection. So it's got here, the Cosmic Clock is the universal rhythm transcending time and space beyond our understanding. It represents the constant cycle of destiny, reminding us that every occurrence has a divine design, like the stars that encourage, radiate, and eventually disappear. Our lives too grow, change, and evolve. Although our earthly clocks are always ticking, a much grander timeline is unfolding around us. Let the cosmic clock remind you to believe in the universe timings. If your journey seems slow, remember everything happens in this cosmic time. The dance of the universe is perfectly choreographed, tongue twisting, and every part, both the heights and the lows, are essential pieces of this grand performance. Welcome every moment of your journey, trusting that with every tick of the cosmic crow, new opportunities are born and the universe grows, and the universe's grand plan reveals itself before you. And then for reflection, are there areas of your life where you could perhaps practice more patience and trust in the universe timings? So it's a really good kind of little guidebook. I'll just show you the cards. To look at that, that's the Cosmic Clock. And I love the backs of the cards. These I actually bought, it's because of the backs of the cards that I bought this deck, because I want to pair it with a mass market deck, which I'm going to show you now. So it's got here Spare Time Fabric, The World of Cosmos, and it's got like a very 1950s kind of feel to it as well. It's beautiful. I do like some surreal art, but you know, but this deck I actually like. Look at this one, Milky Way. This is gorgeous. Moon phase, eclipse. So I bought this deck to pair with this. This is a mass market deck. It's called the Outsider Art by Rita Rose, and it's also kind of very surreal as well. I'll just show you a few cards with this deck. So these are the backs of the cards, which I think they kind of match to me. And then let's just show you some of the artwork. So this is the Fool, or the Quest Fool. The Shaman, which is the Magician. The High Priestess. I think this would really, these two decks would pair very nicely. So this is why I bought this Oracle deck, because I do intend to use it next month with this deck, this mass market deck. So the next deck that I received is the Fortunate Frogs. I did do an unboxing and flip through of this deck, but it was in such bad lighting. Not very nice, actually, if I'm honest with you. But it's a mass market deck. It's frogs. It comes with a nice little guidebook. I love the backs of the cards. And it's got like a green tinge to it as well. And I do find green quite a soothing colour. So I'll probably use this deck in the summer, stroke autumn. But it's such a gorgeous deck. So the next deck is a mass market deck. And I think it was Laura from I Recieved Tarot that well, she didn't encourage me, but when I saw it on her channel, I think she done a video for mass market decks. And this is one of the decks that came up, and I thought, oh, I've never heard of this deck before. Let me just unbox it because I don't want to keep it in cellophane. Cause if I don't take the cellophane off, it will stay there until I'm ready to use it. So I'm trying to utilise the decks that I buy. Oh, look at that lovely yellow inside. Let's see what's at the back of the box. Tarot Neocolonial de las Américas explores the period where the New World and the Old World collided, bringing about a turning point in human civilization and the dawn of globalization. As a Puerto Rican artist, Patrick Metcalf Malens, sorry if I pronounce this wrong, felt compelled to address issues of social and economic struggles through his art. The result is a stunning series of visual narratives depicting 500 years of American and European colonization and conquests in the Latin Americas. So this is a 78 card deck and 92 page guidebook, and the titles are in Spanish, English, Portuguese and French. I will show you some of the cards, but oh god, it's sold again. But this is the sort of size and the shape of the cards which I like, and this is the guidebook. If you do want to flip through of this deck, do let me know and I will do one for you. So this is one of the decks that I received in the month of April. So the next deck is the Tarot Oracle of Oz. I actually opened this deck and I've actually shuffled it and done an interview spread, but the deck that I received, it came bashed, so I sent it back on Amazon, sent me a new one. But this is about the Wizard of Oz, which is one of my favourite films. I think it's a hybrid of tarot and oracle. So the Tarot Oracle of Oz deck is a wonder-filled version of traditional tarot and channeled oracle insights, perfect for readers of any level. I actually think as well that I done an unboxing of this deck, but this is one of the unboxings again that I done and didn't upload. So if you want this to be uploaded, do let me know and I'll see if I can upload it, but I didn't have the energy to upload it. But it's a hybrid kind of tarot and oracle deck, and it's based around the Wizard of Oz. And the final deck that I received for the month of April is This Might Help Oracle deck. I actually might use this deck for the month of May. I bought it because I have the mass market version. I also have the indie deck. I like the artwork. And I think Liminal 11 sent me the mass market version, but not the one that came with this. They just sent me this size sort of deck. But what I like about this deck is that you can, even though it's an oracle deck, it's a kind of like squash version of their tarot deck. So you can actually use it as a tarot deck. And I haven't opened this yet, but I will open it shortly. Or in the near future, I should say. So thank you for visiting and watching my tarot reflections for the month of April, which was my 9 of Swords month. I'll try and leave links in the description bar for any of the decks and books that I've showcased if they're still available. Bye for now.